Boys, welcome back to another Bookhouse's YouTube video. Today we got our starts and sits for week 13 of fantasy football.
And boys, before we get into it, check out our SOBET. On our SOBET, we got our full rest of season rankings. We got our every single primetime game. We post our star, sit, and sleeper. We got Thrive and Underdog plays. We got some best bets on there every single week. So much exclusive content. You also get 25 plus other creators content as well if you sign up with us. Go check it out. First link in the description.
First start of the week, we got Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been balling lately in his last 3 games, averaging over 20 points. Plus, he has the best possible matchup for a quarterback in fantasy against the Lions. They are dead last at 32 against quarterbacks. Again, amazing matchup. Expect tons of scoring, and Lawrence has been balling out.
And right after Trevor Lawrence, we're going to go to Christian Kirk. We just love this matchup for these Jaguars right now. They're going against the Lions. The Lions are terrible against QBs. Against wide receivers, they're number 30, so they're the 3rd worst. Last week, it was a Zay Jones game. Zay Jones got the most targets. Zay Jones got the most yards. But Christian Kirk has been this wide receiver 1 for this Jaguars team the whole year. Over his past 5 games, averaging over 9 targets a game. Even though Zay Jones had a great game last week, Christian Kirk still had 9 targets. He's still being very well used, and I think he returns to the wide receiver 1 for Jacksonville.
Our third start of the week is George Pickens. George Pickens has been pretty solid lately. Last 3 games, averaging 14.5 points as a pretty solid number. Plus, it's again another amazing matchup against the Falcons. They are the 4th worst team against receivers. They are number 29. So again, there's a lot of upside there against a horrible secondary.
In our 4th start of the video, we got Garrett Wilson. It seems like right now, whenever you look at the Jets depth chart and you see Mike White starting, you put Garrett Wilson in your fantasy lineup right now. Last week, over 26 fantasy points, 8 targets, and he has an amazing matchup against the Vikings. This could be a close game. We expect both teams are actually pretty good. Vikings are number 28 against wide receivers though, so they're quite weak in the secondary. Love this matchup for Garrett Wilson.
And our defense of the week, we got the Cowboys defense. This could be an ugly game on Sunday night. Cowboys defense is amazing. They are number 2 in fantasy currently, and the Colts are 32nd against defenses. Their offense has been awful. Plus the Cowboys, known for their pass rush, they have 45 sacks this year. The Colts offensive line can't block for anything. They are so bad. Again, this game could get super ugly.
And our last start of the video, he's hurt everyone over the past 2 weeks. It's Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, man, over the past 2 weeks, both games under 5 fantasy points. It was an absolute blowout. But this week, we like him to bounce back a little bit. Plays the Browns. The Browns are 31st against RBs. They're absolutely terrible. And the spread is not looking too bad at 7.5. Last week against the Dolphins, these books aren't scared to lay the absolute juice. 14.5 to 15.5 spread. It was an absolute killing, but this game they expect it to be a bit closer. You gotta remember, Deshaun Watson has not played a game of football in 2 years. He hasn't been practicing too much. I think this game will be closer than people think. Dameon Pierce should be able to get his rushing attempts. He should be able to score. This Browns defense is quite bad against RBs.
Our first sit of the week, Mike Evans. This is only really a must sit if Marshawn Lattimore plays. I guess you could play the upside, but it's been 4 years since Mike Evans put up over 13 points against the Saints. Lattimore just absolutely owns Mike Evans every single time they play. That is 4 years. That is hard to wrap your mind around because they play twice every single year being in the same division. Again, if Lattimore plays, I would try to avoid Mike Evans.
In our second set of the week, we talked about him earlier in the video. It's Deshaun Watson. You got to remember right now, Deshaun Watson, yes, he used to have that super elite upside. He used to be a stud for fantasy, but bro hasn't played a snap of the NFL in a real regular season game in 2 years. He hasn't even practiced too much, and who does he play? Plays his old team, the Houston Texans, who are terrible against the run and actually pretty solid against the pass. Houston right now for 4 fantasy points, number 3 against QBs. They're top 10 against wide receivers, but they're dead last, number 32 against RBs. We expect a close game, lots of running for Nick Chubb, not a ton of passing for Watson. They shouldn't have to against this horrible defense. We would sit him in fantasy.
Our third sit of the week is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara has been awful the last 4 weeks, averaging under 10 points. It is 9.15 points over the last 4 games. That is abysmal, and he plays the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are number 4 against running backs. They do not mess around. Again, past few years, this year, again, always amazing against running backs. Hate the matchup. Kamara's been so bad, I would try to avoid starting Kamara if you could.
And our 4th sit of the week, not really a sit, more of a temper expectations. Normally you can't sit this guy. It's Ceedee Lamb. Ceedee Lamb, he goes against the Colts, who are number 1 against wide receivers. Stephon Gilmore should be guarding him basically all game. Plus, Cowboys are 10.5 point favorites. They should be up in this game. Their defense should be balling. They should be running the ball a lot, not having to throw to Ceedee Lamb. I think I would temper expectations in week 13.
And our last sit of the week, another temper expectations, it is Miles Sanders. He obviously was amazing last week, over 30 points, but it was in an awesome matchup this week. Much tougher matchup against the Titans, who are currently number 6 against running backs. Also, Miles Sanders has been super inconsistent this year. The game previous to last week, we scored 30 points. Both of those games under 6 points. Obviously, terrible numbers. In a tough matchup, we can see the Eagles struggling to run. Maybe Jalen Hurts as well, but struggling to run with Miles Sanders. Don't love the upside here.
And boys, thanks so much for watching the video. Again, check out our SOBET. Tons of more exclusive content on there. So much matchup winning advice. And boys, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.